Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sit Down and Lockdown. It's been a bit of a while since I've done one of these, and I'm so excited to be bringing to you tonight a very funny guy. He is a comic book fanatic. I love watching or seeing his feed on Facebook and Instagram with all the fascinating t-shirts that he has, and we're definitely going to talk about that. So ladies and gentlemen, before I bring him on, I want to remind you that you can donate tonight, all right? And even in the future, but I usually only accept donations for 2 days. So up until the 10th, 11th, so Saturday. If you're watching this after the fact, that's fine. This will work. This Zapper icon thingy will work. And if you like the show, if you enjoyed the show, donate. And anything made for the next 48 hours, 80% goes to Liam, 20% goes to me. Simple, easy. And yeah, please donate. I'm trying to help the comedians and fellow performers throughout this time during the lockdown. So with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, simple, easy. If you don't have Zapper, yeah, download it and use it. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'm going to bring to you right now the very funny man, the one, the only Comedy Central featured comedian, Liam Bento.
It is I'm here. What is up, Joe Emilio?
Nothing much, man. How you been? It's been a while.
It's been a minute, eh? I was thinking about it today. I think the last time I saw you was that gig that we played out in, what's that, like Panorama?
Panorama.
Yeah, that was like what's that guest house in Panorama?
Neighborhood cafe. Yes.
That was still there was still some competition that you were running that you asked me to come.
Yes.
And I mean, yeah, that's the last time I've seen you. It's been a while, Lexi. It's good to see you, Joseph.
That's actually, I think that's pretty much almost a year.
Yeah,
Now
just
that I
about.
think about it, because I did it in about, yeah, it's almost like 10 months, somewhere there. Wow. Well, shout out to Neighborhood Cafe. They're awesome. They're operating and they've got great food. So go check them out.
Okay. I can vouch for that. The food is excellent.
Did you have their ribs?
Yeah, no, I didn't have the ribs. I can't even remember what it was that I had, but I know the dessert was top notch. I loved it.
Their ribs are amazing, and their wings is really good. Okay, we're not here to talk about food. Liam. So you're a very interesting guy, and I'm gonna get into this right away because you are wearing a Superman T-shirt or shirt. Yes. So I have seen you are. I mean, you can see in the background. I don't know if you can see. I've got some interesting Iron Man, SpiderMan, Deadpool. I got a Marvel Vault, which is basically the history of Marvel. So that's a limited edition kind of thing. So I'm also a fan. Like I got comic books in the corner here, or whatever. But I don't think I'm big. I'm a big like you are. Like wow, you're next level. Where did this start, man? Where did this start?
I don't know. For me, I think it started from a very young age. From a very young age for me. Like a friend of mine was he was very big into collecting comic books, and I obviously just got into it from there out of a love for reading. And then with the boom of the internet, it just became a lot easier to find out more about your favorite characters. So for me, what it's mostly about is every hero has an origin story, and that for me is it's always like my mom tells people all the time that I would sit with encyclopedias before the internet age and read about like Greek mythology and Greek heroes and stuff like that. So
Wow.
I've always had a love for like for origin stories of heroes. So then obviously with it crossing over into popular culture and having a little bit of history of reading comic books, you get to learn a little bit more about your favorite characters and just explore it, and it just explodes, and that's basically what happened for me.
Okay. So now I'm gonna ask you the age-old
Mhm.
question: DC
Ah,
or Marvel?
here's the thing. Yeah, I've had this conversation with so many people so many times. Why do you have to choose?
That's what I
Like,
say.
yeah, There is absolutely no reason why anyone should have to choose, because people are gonna come with the argument with DC's movies are lame. But if you take a look at what DC is doing in the animated universe,
Mm,
as far as the movies are concerned, they are streets ahead of Marvel as
mm,
far as that is concerned. And that comic book lovers, that's where more of it is at, because it covers more and it's truer to comic book canon as well. So
yes.
if you look at that side of things, DC is streets ahead of the MCU. But then again, if you're looking at live action movies, MCU has got DC beat. The comic books as well. DC is always going to be the establishment. It's going to be
Mm,
like it started with DC. It
it did.
started with Superman. That is where the whole superhero notion comes from. So you've got to give respect to the originators. And then Marvel came along with more maverick type characters, more like real and people that you can relate to, or
Yes.
relate to on a certain level. I mean, Tony Stark, alcoholic. Um, Peter Parker is a teenager with teenage problems. I mean, people didn't even realize for a second that teenagers have problems. I mean, no one ever thought of it at all. So I mean, it's impossible to choose one over the other. I say just appreciate the fact that we live in a time and an age where we have both
Mm.
DC and Marvel, and we can appreciate it for what they are.
You say things that is so true. Like I've often said that like the animation side of DC is really good, with the like you said, the animated hour movies that they do, and Marvel beats on real action, live action movies. People, I don't know if people know this, but comic books, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the DC, if I'm not mistaken, used to stand for Detective Comics because it used to be
Yep,
about detectives
comic
and
series. Yeah.
yeah, a detective comic series, and that's like where it really started, and then it just kind of became something else over the years and grew. And there's still some DC comics that do still do the detective series and stuff like that, which is fascinating. I mean, obviously nowadays there are thousands of reincarnations, new comics coming out, all that stuff. It's a very fascinating world. Would you say that you're a connoisseur in that area?
I wouldn't say that I'm a connoisseur. I am. I'm more. I'm more of a fanboy.
Mm.
I fall into fandoms like crazy. So it's not just strictly comic books. Comic books, obviously, for me, that's where it all started. But I mean, there are things like the Harry Potter universe. There are things like
Mm.
what else, like Game of Thrones, stuff like that, that I'll fall into. Those are like some crazy fandoms that I will just get involved in because I get sucked into it. I think it's got a lot to do with reading from a young age. I
Mm.
was always reading at a young age, and you get sucked into that universe because of reading. And then obviously when it comes out later in life that you can actually follow it in a different way, you're already invested in it. So it's just dope.
Would you? Okay, so here's another one. Seeing as we're broadening the subject now, I gotta know: Star Wars or Star Trek?
For me personally, I'm going to go with Star Wars.
Yes.
Um, but no disrespect to Star Trek whatsoever. Funny enough, I was watching that Netflix documentary today about the toys that made us, and
That's a
they've
good.
got
That's a
like
good series. Yeah.
yeah, they've got like Star Wars, the Star Wars, how the Star Wars toys came along, as well as the Star Trek toys as well. So I mean, no disrespect to either of them. They've both been like groundbreaking in their own right and in their own way. But for me personally, I'm gonna go Star Wars over Star Trek.
That's the thing because you said that you read Greek mythology, and Star Wars does have a bit of those old
Yeah,
the hero's journey, so to speak.
yeah.
So, which is very entertaining. So, what do you think of the recent Star Wars?
To be honest, like once I'd watched episode 7, it didn't grip me.
Mm.
Not grip me at all. I actually felt let down by the franchise,
I
and
did
that
too.
is, yeah, that's sad, right? Because I mean, we invested so much time of our life, just like being all in with this universe that that was created for us, and now all of a sudden it's like the next chapter is like, yo, we've been waiting forever for this. Let's check this out, and then it was just like we just got tanked big time, and I was disappointed to the fact to the point where I didn't really like. I didn't even care about The Last Jedi. I was like, yo, dude, I'm done. But at the same time, I had so much else to fall back on. So I still had MCU was still cranking out. Um, I mean, they were still working on in what was it, Infinity War,
Yeah.
well as Endgame. And then Game of Thrones was also still coming with new seasons as well. So I was okay. I could handle the disappointment that Star Wars gave me.
Man, you're just channeling it out with it. You're finding another fix.
Like, you've got to like take some joy from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Man. When one lets you down, it's like, okay, cool, that kind of sucks. But oh wait, look, the Harry Potter universe is coming out with Fantastic Beasts. That's nice. You can throw that in there. Oh, Game of Thrones got a new season coming out. Oh, MCU's got some more stuff. So you gather your joy from all those other places.
Yeah, but you got to be honest though. The last season of Game of Thrones was just horrible. Like you, come on.
Like, okay, I will say that the last episode of the final season of Game of Thrones sucked. Everything up until that point, it was okay. It was manageable. I could handle it. I was okay with it. Even like the battle at Winterfell, and
That was cool.
like,
Yeah, that was cool.
you know, that was like that was some crazy cinematography.
Yes.
And I mean, you could barely see anything for 90% of the episode, but you were in it. You were like, okay, cool. Just
that is true.
don't take me with you.
Yeah, I think the moment Khaleesi burns down the city was when it lost me. I was like, this doesn't make sense for the character at all. This doesn't make any sense for her character. That's not at all what this whole series was about. You lost me. No, I'm done. And then
Right. This shouldn't have been. It should never have been this way. Why are you doing this to me? And I fought with it. I fought with it for weeks after that because I was that guy that would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, watch the episode. Yeah, like wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, watch the episode on Mnet. Then an hour later, change over to 901 on DSTV, watch that episode again. Then the entire day, putting like subtle spoilers out there for people that claim to be Game of Thrones fans, but they aren't hardcore enough to wake up at 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock to watch this shit. It was like, you call yourself a Game of Thrones? No, you are not. I'm that guy. And then watch that same episode again twice later that evening when it comes on 101 again and 901 again. I was all in.
Yeah, that is next level, dude. I wasn't even like that. I definitely did not do that. What I would actually do is I would avoid social media for a while, and then I would download the episodes. Like maybe I'd wait like 3 weeks, and then I would download because I hated the week thing. I hated it so much. I hate it. Even with Walking Dead, I can't handle it. Like now, The Walking Dead wasn't able to finish their one episode, their season, because of the pandemic. So now we're just in limbo until everything's over.
I didn't actually take to The Walking Dead. Like I can honestly say I didn't take to it at all.
I'll be
but
honest.
then,
oh wait, okay.
Looking at the crossovers between the graphic novel itself, like the characters in the graphic novel, and how they portrayed it in the series as well. Just trying to gauge between the two. It looks like it's pretty accurate.
Yeah, obviously, like everything that goes to TV or movies, they deviate every now and again. Some characters die sooner, some don't. The thing with The Walking Dead, and I say this to a lot of people, like, you got to give it season one. You just got to push through season one because not a lot happens in season one. It's all character establishment and stuff like that, answering some questions, leaving some questions open. But once you get past season one and past the terrible visual effects, which some argue until now are still terrible, but you kind of get used to it, it has gone a bit better. And I think it's because they're trying to be as realistic as possible to what would actually happen if there was a zombie pandemic. It's the storyline, like, especially I think season 9 was crazy, dude. Season 9 on Walking Dead was like Game of Thrones vibe. It was really, really good. Like they stepped it up, and I was like, I'm back in. I'm back
Yeah.
in.
I'm,
There
I'm
was, I would say,
only,
season 4 to season 9, season 8 was like boring. It was boring. It's like, oh, gotta get through this. But anyway, um, you want to say something? Looks like you want to say
I
something.
was about to say that, like all of these things, because the pandemic has put a hold on everything. I've actually got a new favorite thing at the moment. Like my new thing to keep watching or to watch at the moment is I've been learning about like ancient Britain. So I was like, because I was
History.
just scrolling YouTube. I was scrolling on YouTube, and this one title just hit me and says, Britain's bloody dynasty. Britain's bloody dynasty. Why this is bloodier or more? Why Britain's
Hey,
history is bloody. Game of Thrones, and
yeah,
it
I've seen
teaches you
that.
about the Plantagenet dynasty. So I watched this one. It's like a 4 part documentary series, and I was so hooked on it that I was like, okay, cool. Give me everything that I can find about the Plantagenet dynasty, and just went all in. So that's all I've been doing for the last 2 weeks. Is just learning about.
It's crazy how much content there is on YouTube. Like I watch YouTube more than Netflix now. Like once you find the good quality, the good production quality ones, you're
That
like,
wormhole.
yeah, you're like hooked.
Gone.
All right, so there was a question I also wanted to ask about Star Wars, and then I forgot now. But I can't remember. Anyway, let's talk a bit about your comedy career. All right. When did you start? And tell us. I always like asking the comedians this because it's always an interesting story. It's always a different perspective. You got to tell us why you got into it, and tell us your experience the first time you were ever on stage.
Wow. So I grew up with Gino Fernandez, right? Gino Fernandez and I have known one another since we were kids, probably like 6, 7 years old. So I've literally known Gino my entire life, like more than 30 years. Um, Facebook started around 2007, and
Hmm.
then I was like a Facebook comedian at the time for what it was at the time, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you were just out there posting funny things, and people they only had one reaction at the time, which was the thumbs up.
Yeah.
People would comment and laugh. Now
Now we
people are
sound
so
old, man. Like back in the day when Facebook first started, we only had one reaction.
Do you remember like when like Facebook version 1 that we had, you could only start your status update with Liam Bento is or
Oh
Joe
my
Emilio
word!
is.
Yes.
So you'd have to like tailor your status to fit in with that Liam Bento is or Joe Emilio is. So
Thank
that's
goodness
what
they
I
got
would
rid of that.
do, right? I would make funny statuses or just like things that were funny and people like appreciated it. And then one day I put it out there. It's like Liam Bento is thinking about trying stand-up comedy. And then Gino commented on it and he was like, yo, come do this thing. And then Rustom also said the same thing. I was friends with Rustom at the time as well. Rustom said, yo, we're doing this thing. Come and join us. So I was like, nah, not yet. Because that was like in 2000, that was like 2000, late 2008.
Mm.
And then 2010 came around, and then I was still toying with this idea of trying stand up comedy. And then Carl Weber said,
Mm.
"Yo, there's the space here down the road. Why don't you come try it out? Let's like I've heard you've been trying to get into stand up comedy. Why don't you come give it a go?" And so I did, and that's how I started out at Joker's Comedy Club because Carl Weber had started a couple of months before that. I was the second one to go, and then KG started at
Mm.
Jokers also, like just after myself, and Dalen came the following year. I think it was either end of 2010 or in 2011. So the four of us, we really like we cut our teeth at Jokers Comedy Club. Like working for working for Melody Shiv Lane in the dope system.
Yes.
Fun times.
The dope system.
The dope system, yeah. It was fun times, but that's basically how I got into it, and that was about 10 years ago. I mean, I've had nothing but fun with it ever since. It's just been an amazing journey.
And your first time on stage, what was that like?
Ah, the first time on stage is always dope, right? Because like when you put it out, your friends are always gonna be there there to support you. You should always ask people what was your second time on stage like, because that's where the true colors show. So you're like, okay, because now you're gonna be at a gig. All of you people that came to support you at your first gig are not there. So now it's the real pressure test
Very
now. When
true.
second gig, how was that? That was it was a learning curve. Let's put
I know what that's code for,
it.
by the way.
It wasn't a complete death. I was seriously wounded, but I wasn't dead. Like I was stabbed a few times, but I lived to tell the tale. So it wasn't like a complete death. But yeah, Zulu
Man,
Bar, the old Zulu Bar in Long Street. That audience there would let you know if they didn't like what you were saying. They would let you know in a heartbeat, and that was a good place. I must as a gig itself, I miss that joint.
really. I think I performed there just before it stopped doing comedy, became something else. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, like I've heard stories about that place. It sounded like a lot of fun, and I want to do a shout out to Rustom August. May he rest in peace, because I think he really kick-started the comedy industry in Cape Town specifically. I know he was running a lot of shows and gave opportunities to guys like you, Gino, Peter Sawanga, who's actually in the chats now. We owe him a great debt, and I didn't have the pleasure of meeting him, but I was so close, man, so close, because I started in 2010. But what I did was I didn't go immediately into Cape Town, and had I done so, I probably would have met him. But
yeah,
a year or two later, that's when I started to go into town, and I just missed him, unfortunately.
yeah. Ah man, he was good people. Pete, you're saying Pete is in the comments. It's so weird. Pete commented, or he actually posted in the comics group on Facebook about this kid. Like this was in 2010 as well. We met this kid called Charlie Virgos, who was
Yes,
from the south in the states, and we just thought this kid was hilarious. I think he was like 20 and 19, 20 years old at the time, and this kid was just going at it. Um, Pete posted that he had done a comedy album, and as soon as Pete posted that, I was like, straight onto Deezer, go and check it out. Was listening to this kid's album, Charlie, and I mean, I've still got him as a friend on Facebook. His album was so dope, like that barbecue. I
awesome.
think it's called Barbecue Rich. Amazing album, and just it's so cool, especially like I've in this industry, the people that you've been around and you've been performing with, and you start seeing them doing big things, or you see your friends on like ads on TV, you see your friends having like sold out shows, sold out solo shows, or just like doing comedy albums. It's so amazing that you can say, yo, like I was hanging out with this person, I chilled with
Mm,
this person, this person is my friend.
yes.
It's so amazing to actually watch your friends like thrive and succeed. I love every moment of it, man.
Oh, I agree with you 100%, man. Like I love seeing other comics, and I think we're gonna get a bit real here because I'm gonna be really honest right now, right? And I know that some people may not agree with me, but so be it. Um, you know, in our industry, we often say, "Hey guys, let's work together." Imagine if we all like shared this post or shared that, regardless if we're on the lineup. Blah 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 blah. A type of solidarity between comedians that no matter what, we support one
Yeah.
another. And I've always been for that. So when a comic does really well, when a comic is doing a one-man show, when a comic gets their TV debut, when a comic headlines at Cape Town Comedy Club for the first time, even hosts for the first time or whatever, I try and make an effort to be there at those moments, especially if it's someone who, because of me organizing shows, obviously I've some of the comics that are in the industry today that are doing really well, like Chantal Fenter, Pius Ngolo, they're doing great things as well. And they often say, the first time I was on stage was on hashtag That's Funny, which was my brand, and
Yeah.
and I love going to when they hit those milestones and stuff like that. And I feel like that camaraderie isn't there as much as it should be.
Yeah.
And I wish. Look, I know what happens: egos, jealousy, envy. There's cliques. There's all that stuff. But man, don't you agree that if we just put that shit aside, our industry
Yeah.
would have flourished by now?
Fully agree. I think that in itself is where Joburg has really got an edge over Cape Town as far as comedy is concerned, is in their willingness to collaborate with one another. Whereas here in Cape Town, people we like only really willing to collaborate with certain people on certain things, like type of thing. Whereas if we just opened ourselves up to just trying something different or just playing a different gig or maybe doing just a little something different, like someone is doing shooting a skit and you want to be in on it, like just try something out. Like you don't know where your best work is going to come from, or where it's going to come from, with who you are collaborating, unless you give it a go. So I think that's where Joburg is really purped us on that, and hopefully we will have learned from this lockdown, because this lockdown has actually driven that necessity to get content out in a different way and collaborate with different people. So hopefully we will have learned from this lockdown, so that when we come out of it, we'll be more willing to collaborate with other people and just strengthen our own brands from there.
Yeah, well, I hope so too. I'm always skeptical because we've tried so many times. But I was speaking to King earlier about this as well. That maybe some people now, with what's happened now, being deprived from live entertainment.
Yeah.
Hopefully now the comics that start doing shows again, the comics that are now starting to get back out there, they take this opportunity, they run with it hard to, because this will be the time when people are like, everyone's going to be looking like, oh, where can I get comedy? Where can I get comedy? And those that start now, and even later, even a bit later, Armchair, all these other places that start up again, this might be the moment where people really now look, where is comedy? And we must take advantage of that.
Most definitely, man.
I just want to address. I like to address some of the comments as they come in. So we have Nabila says, "Evening, gents. Thank you, Nabila, for watching." Andrea Jane Morley is saying, "Hey, Liam Bento." Yeah. And we have Robin Hassan, who said, "Lol." This is a while ago. She said, "Cringy Facebook memories." Peter Sawanga, like I said, is in the chats, and he's saying, "Funny ISIS terrorist."
Pete has got, like, the first time I performed, I shared a stage with Pete, was still at Ob's Cafe. So that's before we had moved back to like Armchair. We were still at Ob's Cafe, and like down in the basement, because they used to have like a basement theater there where we perform. And Pete, for like till today, this is 10 years later, I will never forget that joke that Pete had about being a miscellaneous nigger. Like he referred to himself as a miscellaneous nigger. And I've, like, for the last 10 years, whenever I see Pete in person, I will call him my miscellaneous nigger. It's never left me. That's stuck with me. I love him for that.
You know what I'm finding out actually tonight? Also, Oba King was saying about the first time he met Peter, and then I explained it as well. Peter is like this hidden uncle of comedy, like, because he's a very funny guy. He's a very funny guy. Those of you who've been watching my YouTube channel will know how funny Peter is. But he's not always, like, he doesn't even show up to his own birthday. So, I mean, he's not always around, if I can put it that way. And he's almost like that uncle of comedy. Like, he's there when you need him. He's
Yeah, definitely.
And he says the most amazing things to make sure that you are encouraged to continue. And that's what he did. That's what he's done for me. That's what he has been doing for me. And he is a valuable comedian, I think, in the comedy industry, and fair. That's another thing. He's very fair.
If you ever search my name on YouTube, the only hit that will come up is an interview that Pete Sawanga is doing.
I've seen it.
is weird.
Man, like he's one of the comedians, and there's a lot of us, don't get me wrong here, that really love our industry and are passionate about our industry. And he's one of them. And there's quite a few of us that are, obviously, we're all passionate to a certain degree. I think as well that needs to be said, I just wish that we could all use that passion to remember that united we are stronger. And I know that's corny and I know that said a lot and all that stuff, but it's true. If I was to share everything that everyone did and every other comedian did the same thing and we supported and we collaborated like you just said, I think our industry would have been far further than it is today. And
And, it comes, but it gets to a point, and the sad thing is that point is where people's like, but you didn't share my post. Why should I share your
who
post?
cares?
Like, who cares? Yo, like, just do it. Be the better person. Share the person's post. Like, help each other prosper, and we'll all prosper in that sense. But I don't know. That crab mentality needs to end.
Yeah, I agree. Let's get into the game because it's halfway through the show and we have a few
Yeah.
viewers with us. So there's Daniela is asking Peter, how are you? And then Peter says, Zulabar interview with Liam Bento. I have links. Well, Peter, if you want, you can send them to me and I'll add them to the description.
I will block you on every social platform. I'm still trying to petition to get that shit removed. That's embarrassing.
Oh man! All right. So for those of you who don't know, for those of you that are watching my show for the first time, what I like to do with the entertainers is we do a game I like to call the Interrogation Game, which is basically each one of us have prepared 3 statements each about ourselves. One of the statements is a lie, and we will take turns interrogating each other to find out which one of those statements is the lie. And obviously, the person being interrogated needs to make sure that the interrogator does not correctly guess which one is the lie. And I will go first, so you get a feel for it. So I will tell you what my statements are. Sorry, I'm going to do you. So I'm gonna say your statement. Sorry.
Man, you've got a wedding ring on your finger. I'm married as well. Yo, let's just be friends, though.
All right. So just to confirm your statements, I'm going to read them. I'm going to have 2.5 minutes to interrogate you. I'll keep you updated with the time in both rounds. So, Liam, the first statement is: I met the German football captain when I was playing football in Germany. Second statement: I've ridden a sub-3 cycle tour in under 3 hours. Third statement: I have gone for a test drive in Eleanor. For those of you who don't know what he means by that, Eleanor, the car in Gone with 60 Seconds. Anybody who's watched that movie will know immediately what he's talking about. Okay, so my 2.5 minutes starts now. Okay, where did you go on this test drive?
At Killarney, the track here in Cape Town. It was a race day and the car was there on display. And I was lucky enough to actually go in the test drive because it's all about who you know.
Okay, I was about to ask, how did you pull that off? You've ridden the sub-3 cycle tour in under 3 years. 3 hours. What year was that?
The cycle tour was in 2000.
2000. Okay. How long did you train to get into that tour?
366 days.
Okay, your answers are very quick. I met the German football captain when I played football in Germany. What was his name, or what is his name?
Okay, it was actually the future football captain. His name was Michael Ballack, and this was in Munich, in Germany.
Why were you in Germany?
I was there with the provincial team.
How old were you?
15 and a half, going on 16.
Okay. Did you learn any German?
No.
See, now I don't believe you. Because Germans make you learn their language, man.
9.
Okay. Oh man, this is the guys. By the way, those that are watching, you can help me by ask questions. You can try and guess what you think the lie is to help me out. I have 57 seconds left, and this isn't going too well because Liam's actually really good at this. Man. Okay, so what was it like going for that test drive?
It was probably the most exhilarating experience of my life.
And you got to drive. You weren't like in the passenger seat.
No, I was in the passenger seat. Someone else, professional, got to drive that car, and he put that car through its paces.
Yeah, but then is it really a test drive then?
But how many people have got to sit in the passenger seat of Eleanor going on the top end?
Fair enough. Okay. Was it Nicolas Cage that was driving?
Nah, it was some guy, some Afrikaans dude. I don't even know
Close
his
enough.
name.
Sub 3 cycle tour in under 3 hours. Okay. I'm out of time, so I've gotten one suggestion here from Robin Hassan who says 2 is false. Okay. I'm also thinking 2 is false, and I'll tell you why. I think you were smart when you did this, and you did the tour in under 4 hours, not 3. So I'm going to go with number 2. I think number 2 is the lie.
I've got an August cycle tour that I've done in 2 hours and 57 minutes. In the year 2000, it was done. My dad did a 2:45 in that year. Winning time of that year was 2:37. It was very, very favorable racing conditions. So I have done it in under 3 hours. I did meet Michael Ballack while I was playing football over in Germany with the provincial team. I have never been even close to Eleanor. I think that it would be a dream for me.
It just sounded so plausible there.
I would have nothing more than to just be able to sit in that car while someone else drives.
All right, cool. All right, well done. So you're on 1 point now. Let's see if you can break me. I'm going to read what my statements are, and once they're in your head, you let me know, and then you can start asking questions. You will once again have 2.5 minutes, and I will let you know if anyone in the chat suggests anything, says anything to help you out. I will let you know. Cool. Here are the statements. I keep them short. I have been to Disney World, not Disneyland. Okay, because there's 2 of them.
What's the difference?
The one is in Florida and the one is in California.
Which one is in Florida? Which one's in California?
Florida is the Disney World and California is Disneyland.
Anaheim, right?
Sorry?
Anaheim, right?
I believe so, yes. Number 2 is I think SpiderMan is the best superhero. I put that in there for you. I watched Marvel Civil War, the MCU, 4 times. So, is it ready? Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. If you do forget any of the statements, I'm happy to repeat them. Here we go. 2.5 minutes starts now.
Oh, why is Peter Parker the best? Why is Spider-Man the best?
I think it's because I grew up with Peter Parker. I grew up with the animated series, and as you said earlier, you know, being a teen and stuff like that, I related to the character very much. And I just think like he's always like he's got everything. He's got the healing very quickly. He can climb walls. He's got super power, like super strength. He's fast. The spider sense, so you can tell when there's danger coming. There's just so many things about him like that would make most superheroes tank. The only kryptonite that he has is when people go after his loved ones.
Yeah, true. So you said you've been to Disney World and not Disneyland.
Yes.
So Disney World is in Florida, right?
Yes.
What's the worst thing about Florida?
The worst thing, the hurricanes that come in. It's on the coast, the Gulf of Mexico, and that has a lot of warm water. And then hurricanes are crazy in Florida and in Texas.
What were there any hurricanes while you were there?
No. Well, in Texas, yes, but not in Florida when I was there.
What sucked about being in Florida for you?
Well, I was a kid and we were at Disney World, so not a lot. Being in Disney World, I was actually quite happy. There was a ride though that they advertised that had mechanical fish, and it was like a whole aquarium with mechanical, but they were like really realistic. but that was shut down or not working at the time, out of order, and that was a bit of a disappointment. I remember we were disappointed about that.
Okay. And you said Civil War, right?
Yes.
MCU Civil War, you watched it 4 times.
Yes.
That's rather disappointing. That's rather disappointing. Right now, I'm going to tell you right now that the
44
false
seconds.
one here is number 2.
The false one, okay, is number 2. You
False one is number 2 because I feel like your favorite superhero would be Tony Stark.
Okay, you have 30 seconds left. Do you?
Yeah, I'm with it.
All right. I'm gonna go to the comments quickly. No one has said anything yet, but I'm gonna give them a few moments if they want to guess. You're absolutely sure number 2. Final answer.
It's locked in. It is locked in.
All right. Well, I have been to Disney World, not Disneyland. Also, Robin agrees with you. She says 2 is false, she thinks. I think Spider-Man is the best superhero. I do think he's the best superhero. He's my all-time favorite superhero. You have no idea how important that figurine of his is to me. And I think that the recent Spider-Man that was released with Tom Holland is the best version of that Spider-Man in this MCU. And number 3, I did not go see Civil War 4 times. I went to go see it 3 times.
Okay. Close enough. But I agree with you. On there. And I mean, I catch a lot of static from people that claim to be like comic book fans. I said straight, Tom Holland is the greatest Spider-Man. He's in order, I would go Tom Holland, then I'd go with Tobey Maguire, then Garfield.
Yes.
Andrew Garfield was a great Spider-Man, but he was too cool to be Peter Parker. Tobey Maguire was a good Peter Parker, but he wasn't as good of a Spider-Man. Tom Holland is just the perfect blend. He is the perfect Spider-Man as well as the perfect Peter Parker. He's just great.
Yes. I think look, at the time when Tobey Maguire did his Spider-Man stint, like, that was like, wow. Like, at the time when they did that, it was like, oh my word, this is all crazy. Like, the visual effects were awesome. The storyline was good. I didn't like the third Spider-Man, though. His third Spider-Man. I was extremely...
No, that's the one with Sandman.
Yeah.
That was with Sandman and Venom, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it was whack. You could actually see the poor CGI effects. Like, it was like blatantly in your face. I was like, unsubscribe.
And the unjustness that they did to Venom. I mean, how can you skip on Venom, man? One of the greatest villains.
Really? Topher Grace? Topher Grace? You're gonna give it to the kid from the 70s show to play like Eddie Brooks? Are you serious? Nah, man. Fuck out of here. Venom, their portrayal of Venom, Sony's portrayal of Venom, put me off of Venom so much that I actually took very, very long to watch the Venom with Tom Hardy.
I didn't watch it. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I actually watched it last year when I was in rehab because I had like nothing better to do. So it was like, yeah, cool. They've got movies here. Let's watch this. I was very pleasantly surprised. It was actually pretty dope.
All right, then I'll check it out because I have it. I'm just, like you said, man. Sony, you just don't know with them. You really don't know. But how crazy was it? And I'm sorry, because for those of you who haven't watched, what was the recent Spider-Man title? Far From Home? I think? For those of you who haven't watched Far From Home yet, well, tough shit. You should have watched it by now.
Exactly. Anything's not spoilers. It's been out for more than a year. If you hear something now, it's your own fault. You're just lacking responsibility. You should have watched it.
How awesome was it? I'm sure you would have appreciated this. That J.K. Simmons came back as
J. Jonah Jameson at the end there. It was so just that whole announcement. And then I don't know about you, but I went into like a serious panic after they said, like, because I watched the movie and then like a couple of weeks later they're like, oh no, we're dropping Tom Holland because because of Disney and all this shit. I was like, yo, guys, you cannot. You can't do this to me. You cannot do this. Oh, I was pissed off, but I'm glad they came to some sort of agreement, and Tom Holland will be back now. I mean, I think we can't go forward without him.
I think that was a stint, if I'm honest. I think that was, I don't know. Remember, with Marvel now, the MCU, they've been known to make fake outrage. You
Yeah.
know, they did it with the Hulk with what's his name, Ruffalo. They said, "Oh,
Yeah.
we're gonna fire him," but then like a week later, they said, "Oh, it's a joke." So I think that that was a very elaborate plan
Yeah.
to get
It's just
people to
out there
talk about it.
trolling fans. They're trolling their fans because they just get some sort of sick joy out of it. I want to give years, and this is proven to be quite an unpopular opinion amongst people as well. I think that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is probably one of the best Spider-Man movies I've ever seen in my life.
I haven't seen it.
Uh,
Um,
Incredible.
I've heard that though. I've heard from a lot of people saying that that movie is amazing, and I do have it, and I will watch it. I don't know why I haven't been watching movies lately. There's so much time.
Literally, you get to the point where you feel like you are watching a live action comic book happening right in front of
Oh,
you.
that's awesome.
It's an incredible experience.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna check it out. Just very quickly, I want to go again to the chats. Just here, give the video an extra view. That's Chico. Peter's still with us, laughing, and yeah, you mentioned rehab. So someone said, Liam, I'm sorry you went into rehab. My daughter has been to rehab as well. Yeah. Do you want to mention that? Do you want to comment on that?
Like like a lot of people have said, like they're surprised at how candid I am about my stint in rehab. For me, it was actually really a life-saving experience. So for when people say that they're sorry that I went to rehab, it's quite the opposite for me. Like I appreciate your feeling and your empathy, but for me it was a life-changing experience. It was a life-saving experience,
Hmm.
really, because I was on a very bad path of self-destruction. So for me, it really was a godsend. It was heaven sent, and I speak I speak lovingly and glowingly of my experience in rehab because the people that I met there and the experiences that I have there, it's it's still currently it's still shaping my direction forward as well, right? And my identity going forward.
Hmm.
So it was like, yeah, I'm very candid about it. I speak openly about it
Hmm.
because I'm not ashamed of it. Like you shouldn't be ashamed that like it's all part of getting rid of the stigma of mental illness. Addiction is a mental illness.
Yeah.
Depression is a mental illness. All of this, like anxiety, it's a mental illness. We need to destigmatize it so that people that are suffering from this will actually go out and get the help that they need. And that is why I speak so openly about it, because if I don't, I've been in a position where where I've like nearly overdosed to death, where depression had me to the point of wanting to take my life, and I don't want someone else to get to that point that I was at because they feel ashamed or they feel weak. They feel that they are weak and that they shouldn't ask for help. They need to just bring themselves through it. It doesn't work that way.
Hmm.
The only way we survive is through helping one another. We die in isolation. So
Yeah.
like I speak openly so that people know if they are going through the same thing, I am there. Reach out to me, speak to me. I'm more than happy to help or try and talk you through it.
Hmm.
That's what I'm here.
Everyone is loving what you're saying in the chats. They say, "Good on you, Liam." Well done, Liam. That's awesome, Liam. And it's true. That stigma does need to be broken down. I suffer from depression. I'm not ashamed to say that. I think a lot of comedians do. Some days are good. Some days are better than others. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, it's tough. But I also believe in. I always tell people this: like, if you're feeling down, if you want to talk, I don't mind talking. Like that's the thing. Communication needs to be open. You don't know what some people are going through, especially now in lockdown, being under isolation. I cannot imagine the amount of people that are suffering. They suffered before when there wasn't any like lockdown. Now it feels like this is something that hasn't really been spoken about. And I'm glad you brought it up, and I'm glad that you're also, at the forefront and saying, "Hey, just talk to me. Just I'm here, and I'm the same. Send me a
Yeah.
DM. Send me whatever. Hey, man, I need someone to talk to. Cool. Let's talk."
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So thank you.
I've been very open. I've been very candid about being in like a member at Narcotics Anonymous and going to my NA meetings. I've really missed it during lockdown. I can tell you that much for sure, because they like a real community, and because I've been so candid about it, I've had a few people that have come to me and have said like, "Yo, I've got a loved one that is struggling with addiction. What do you suggest I do?" And I mean, for me, it's been helpful. It's been really helpful for me in my journey of healing as well, knowing that I've been able to help someone else, that I've the help that I've been given, I've been able to pass it on to someone else as well. So yeah, it really is. It's a cycle of healing. You
Yeah.
you get from it and you give that same healing to someone else, man.
Yeah, I think Get You Online Lynn has said here, lockdown has been very hard on her daughter, and the cigarettes, the banning of the cigarettes has been, hasn't helped her either. And that's the thing with this banning of the cigarettes, man. Like, it's people like being addicted to cigarettes is maybe not the worst thing you can be addicted to, but the addiction is real. And when you, as an addict, whatever it is you're addicted to, whether it be cigarettes, sugar, drugs, whatever you want to call it, or whatever your vice is, when that's not around, it is mentally draining. And
Yeah.
uh, it annoys me so much. Some people are like, "Yeah, but the cigarette ban is kind of cool because people will be healthy now." No.
No. That's the thing. When it comes down to an addiction, once you can't get that thing that feeds you addiction, you get something else to feed that addiction, right? So whether you basically just going to end up cross addicting. So you find you can't get your nicotine, but something else is going to be available for you to actually numb that feeling, that craving that you have, and that's how you end up cross addicting to something else. So it's actually been very, very dangerous. This just like the lockdown in itself, especially for people suffering from addiction, and mental illness, this isolation
Mm,
that you've got going on. It's what I think, what did they call it? I think the best description I've heard of it is called quarantine fatigue, because
mm,
you feel it. You basically you're just tired of being like in isolation, and it's terrible. So in like the last couple of weeks, I've really been feeling that isolation, that quarantine fatigue. But you try and find ways to work through it. You just try and keep your mind busy, and
yeah.
that's what you do, man.
Do you? Maybe we should mention this. Do you have any for someone who maybe is going through that quarantine fatigue? I love that term. Um, what do you do? What's the maybe top three things you do to try and combat that? In a nutshell, don't have to be
Yeah.
too specific.
So I'm basically a full-time stay-at-home dad now with an 8 month well, you'll be 9 months soon. So with a 9-month old son, my wife is in essential services. So he tends to keep you very, very busy. Like 9-month-old babies, this stay-at-home dad thing, it's dude, it's not for the faint-hearted
Yeah.
at all. Like I personally, I always felt that stay-at-home moms had it easy, because you've like popular culture has got you've just got this mindset. They just sit at home and eat chocolates out the box all day and stuff like that. They don't do anything. Dude, this is so draining. So that's the one thing that keeps me really busy. It's like seeing to Mateo and getting him ready and everything. But what I've been doing recently as well is like I've got a carrier, so I'll put him in the carrier, and we'll just go for a walk around the neighborhood now, because now we actually can do it. So I'll slap a mask on, I'll go for a walk. I need to hit a step count of like 6,000 steps a day just to just to reach my goal. So that's what I'll do. So I'll go for like a little 5K walk around the neighborhood, come back, see to him. I've got a couple of books here that I'll get. I've got my NA literature that I'll go through and work through. And I've also got a lot of friends in NA and in recovery that I'll just reach out and send a message to one of them. It's like, yo, I'm not feeling that good at the moment. Um, Talk to me, like what's going on, and I'll get the same from them as well. So basically, just don't isolate. It's the best advice that I can, and just try and keep as active as possible as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic advice. I want to just quickly ask you something as well. So Chico, I don't know if he's still in the chats, but Chico approached me and he said that because all right. So let me backtrack a bit. So just so you know, with any performer, and this is for my viewers and for you, Liam, if you guys want to talk about something on this channel, I am all ears. So you can approach me, email me, and say, hey, Joe, I think this topic needs to be spoken about. More than happy to talk about it. And Chico took the opportunity and said that he would like to talk about mental illness on the show. And I have a show called Let's Talk where I talk about issues and topics that people want to talk about. So I'm extending an invitation for you to be part of that conversation. We can have a three-way conversation, the three of us talking about mental illness and making people more aware and maybe offering some tips and advice to those who may be suffering at this time. You don't have to answer now. You can let me know later if you want to be part of it, but I'm just letting you know that.
Good. Love to. I'd love to. This is all part. This is all part of it as well. So the more you talk about it, the more you normalize it, or talk to other people that are going through the same thing, or maybe something that you're feeling, but you just don't know how to verbalize it, and someone else is actually able to say it, and you can put your finger on it. It's like, yo, that's exactly what I've been feeling. I just haven't been able to put it into words. So I'd love to join the conversation. Thanks so much for involving me, man.
Fantastic. Let's do that. So we're approaching the hour. We have a few minutes left. So what I like to do with my guest is give them an opportunity to just speak to people or speak to the viewers who are watching. If you want to say anything positive or negative, up to you. But you can say whatever you want for like 2-3 minutes, and then stay on the line. I'll give you a proper goodbye once I sign off.
Sure. Yeah. Look, nothing really great from our side. Just like follow me on Insta, follow and add me on Facebook. Let's be friends. I don't have a fan page. I don't like. For me, it feels weird to even think that I have fans.
But you do.
Yeah, that's the thing. I can't. That's the concept that I just can't grasp. I don't have fans. I have friends that I don't know yet. So just add me as a friend. Let's be brasa. Follow me on Instagram. Myself and Bevan. I don't know if you like
Yes.
your viewers will know Bevan from the roast and stuff. Myself and Bevan, we have a collab, a collaboration going called Broke Brasa, and we have a live Instagram feed every Wednesday evening at 8:30 where we do a playlist battle. So this week was actually pretty dope because we had Pharrell versus Timberland. I don't know what we're going to be doing next week, but it should be interesting. Yeah, so definitely check it out at 8:30 on Instagram. Follow me. I do follow back. I'm that guy. So that's pretty much me.
Fantastic. Okay, and I just want to. There is a question that I think needs to be addressed
Sure.
before you go. Peter Sawanga asks, "How do you maintain your ISIS beard with a young child?"
Dude, so that's the thing, right? So Mateo's at the age where he's like just grabbing all the time. So he tends to grab, yeah, and it's quite cool because he grabs it and he like pulls his fingers through it. So it's like there is no better comb than the fingers of a 9-month-old. So like if you want to cultivate a real nice beard, get yourself a 9-month-old baby that's at that point where they're grabbing, and the way that they grab it and just massage and everything just keeps luscious. So that's the best advice I can give Pete.
Okay. Peter also says, Joe Emilio would love to talk to you and Liam about mental illness and how fucked up we are. So yeah, Peter, if you want to join in, I'll send you the details shortly. All right. Well, Liam, thank you very much for coming on to my show. I think this was so much fun. We spoke about so many things, and I think it's brought us closer as well. I got to know you a little bit better, which is always fun, and that's why I do this as well. It's always nice to talk to a fellow comedian and all-out great guy. So thank you so much for coming on to my show. And like I said, hang on. I will give you a proper goodbye as after I'm done signing off. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Liam Bento. Please go check him out. All you have to do is Google Liam Bento. Instagram as well. You'll find him. I think he's like so easy to find. And yeah, go check out his stuff. He's a great guy, as you can see. And I'll definitely have him back on the show, and we'll be talking about that mental illness issue in the coming weeks. I think it's in about 2 weeks that I've signed it up, but. Just so you guys know, I have another show happening at 8:30. Yes, it's a full lineup, and Robin did say that earlier. The reason why I can't find time to watch movies is because I'm live streaming all the time. Very funny, very funny. But yes, 8:30, I'll be chatting to a man, Richard Tate, who's going to talk a bit about the fitness and gym industry, how it is faring during the pandemic. How's the industry doing? Is it under strain? Is there something that he can maybe help those who need to get some fitness? Maybe he has some tips, and we'll talk about that. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will see you at 8:30. If I don't, I'll see you at the next one. Be safe, and have a good night. Cheers.